Perverts.
But no one chatters back. They rather act like bladders acting spaz on rappers. Matter of fact, that's so real. I can't say it's like nah.
We're gonna stick with it, Drew. We're gonna stick with it, man.
Caution, waiting for the day I get the silence I deserve.
Woo! I feel like yesterday it brought back the early season stuff. Trying to recapture that vibe. Want to welcome you guys to the Daily Fantasy NBA show sponsored by DraftDay as Scott goes missing, of course. It's going to be a fun show today. Drew, you and I, and Mike all progressed to the second round of the Draft Street Basketball Championship. So now it's top 10. Will compete for a lot more money than if you lose tonight. No pressure, though. I'm only slightly nervous.
Do we even know what 10th place is? I know we were all feverishly searching for this because Draft Street decided to put their scoreboard up in place of the promotion.
Exactly.
So now none of us know.
Even on the promotion, it was they just displayed the top 3 prizes. So just by a process of elimination, you know that spots 4 through 10 are going to be a combined 75,000.
But I don't know if it's split evenly or not. I mean, it kind of. I guess it doesn't matter that much. But I would like to know what exactly I have on the line tonight.
Yeah, because we're just basically. Well, there goes Scott. We're basically just playing. I don't want to put any more pressure on myself, but I have thought maybe the last 5 spots are I guess spots 6 through 10 are 8,000 apiece, and then it's 4th is 20 and 5th is 15. But I feel like I've put way too much thought onto the prizes on Friday, and it's a stacked field tonight, so I'm a little nervous. And by a little nervous, I mean a lot of nervous. Last night was a gross night. Tonight, hopefully, going to be a little better, but it's still pretty gross. Because of this Nick situation, really is throwing me off. And we'll get to talking about that. As far as Scott, Scott, you want to come out and play?
Yeah, my Skype keeps crashing for some reason.
Bad boy. Scott had a big night last night because he was the Swag Dome winner. Scott, how does it feel to be a winner of the Swag Dome?
As long as I won it before Davis, that was all I cared about.
I really hope your prize is the Swaggy P T-shirt. It would be... that would be absolutely epic.
You should let Davis pick the number for you. Torture him.
I don't let him do that.
Torture him with the potential that he could ruin the Swaggy P shirt for himself.
He can pick my number. I will allow that.
We can always just fix it to whatever Scott picks as a Swaggy P shirt. Just for fun. Oh, so let's just hop right into tonight. There's a lot of games, a lot of qualifiers. Scott over there at DraftDay wanted to mention first and forehand that you have a $33 mega qualifier for the Hardwood Classic, the $100,000 Hardwood Classic coming up on. It starts Friday, right?
Yeah, there's also a couple 115s, I believe, that have been getting 3 and 4 out of 5.
I bubbled 4 of those. I bubbled 4 of them.
I won them last night.
I could have just bought an entry for getting second in 4 entries the past 2 nights. But those 115s have been overlaying. I love the mega qualifiers. It always feels, even though it's probably the same sort of percentages, and it always works out to the same math as a regular qualifier, it always feels like you have a much better chance at a mega qualifier than just hitting the nuts on the right lineup. So how many spots are open in that mega qualifier as far as, or how many spots are paying out?
It's getting 10. It's giving 10 seats to the championship. It is 142 of 178 right now.
I'm just not reading the chat. You guys are jerks. First, did that really say first and forehand?
Yes, sir.
Oh man, first and foremost. I'm embarrassed. That is embarrassing. Gosh. I need I'm definitely going to purchase some wine tonight after lineups lock. I need a calming effect for tonight. I'm all fidgety.
You should do some PGA research after lineups lock. That's what I'm going to try to do.
Drew, would you like to tell everybody where you were last night after lineups locked?
Yeah, I would. And I'd like to throw my business partner under the bus because the worst thing you can possibly do when someone tells you they're going to a scotch tasting is text them Lance Epping Stevenson 30 minutes into the scotch tasting, because it went very quickly from a tasting to a chugging as soon as I got that text, because I was like, why would you do this to me? And he's like, he has 0 points at half. I was like, again, why would you do this to me?
Because he wanted you to suffer just like he did. And just like he told me, he's like, should we start a support group for Lance Stevenson? I mean, it was the worst, because it was the first game. And it was
I had him on all 3 sites last night.
Yeah, I did too. So it was bad. But you were at a scotch tasting. That is the best place to be, though, if you have someone that's tanking.
Yeah, well, I guess. I don't know. I mean, I wasn't. By the time we got out to the 30-year-old scotch that they brought out, there was no tasting difference of anything for me. So.
You were messaging me last night, and you mentioned Scotch ice cream.
Yeah, there was some Scotch ice cream as well, which was nice. I mean, I think it was Scotch ice cream. At that point, everything was tasting like Scotch, so who knows? It said Scotch ice cream on the menu. It was delicious.
Oh gosh, I'm posting the YouTube link if anybody wants it on Twitter with first and forehand. I wish I could read some of the comments that you sent me last night, Drew, but I won't.
Davis would, because Davis loves to put RG chat conversations out there. So don't be afraid.
Oh, and not to mention Tommy G's cruise ship show, whatever it was called. We have Friday. I'll make sure that we have some clips for that we can play them, because that show Shipmates was epic with Tommy G in there. Who knew that he had such a sensitive side? I don't know. If he gives you a dolphin, that means it's for serious. All right. Enough about this, though. We're 12 minutes in and still haven't talked about this Knicks situation. So news tonight, you've got you've got Amare and Tyson Chandler both out. Melo is going to be playing a ton, and then you have Cole Aldrich that is starting tonight, which is weird. And then you have Jeremy Tyler backing him up. I mean, basically it's Tyler, Aldrich, and Melo as the Knicks bigs. You also have Bledsoe coming off the bench, or is he coming off the bench tonight?
Yeah.
Okay. And then Marcus Morris going to be starting at the small forward position instead of PJ Tucker, who is suspended. And that's really kind of the big news. Anything else glaring that I'm missing?
No Rondo.
Yes. We kind of knew that last night, though.
Right.
But, yeah, no Rondo. And this Boston-New York game is going to be interesting. So let's start there. Scott, your take on this game tonight?
I mean, as far as the center spot goes, they're basically going to have to split 48 minutes between Tyler and Aldridge. If I have to play one of them, I'm going to play Tyler. He just seems like he's a more like fantasy-friendly player. I like Melo quite a bit, but he's not going to be a guy I'm probably going to pay for tonight just because I like Cousins and Al Jefferson so much. For the Celtics, I like Bayless with Rondo out. And, I mean, that's the only guy I really like. Jeff Green, depending on his price, wherever you're playing, is an okay option. I think he'll probably get a few more shots with Rondo out also. It's not a game I feel really confident in taking, like, anyone from.
No, like, there is there's risk definitely involved with this game. Even, like, Chris Johnson, got 28 minutes last night, played pretty much the whole fourth quarter as a spark plug. They were talking about him in a few papers today in Boston. And but looking up his stats when Rondo was gone, it's like he's averaging 10 fantasy points when Rondo's gone.
Yeah.
So it's not like Rondo being out is going to help Chris Johnson. So yeah, I'm with you as far as I don't feel good about playing anybody. With that being said, I wouldn't be surprised if there's 3 or 4 guys in my lineups tonight from this game. Drew, initial thoughts on this game?
I have a little bit of a different take, I think. So between Aldridge and Tyler, I'm more likely to play Aldridge. I just lean on the starting role, even where price is the same. And then I was doing some math on their career numbers, and it's really tough to really take anything away from it because it's mostly been garbage time for those guys. But Aldridge averages like 0.77 draft street points per minute, and Tyler averages like 0.67 draft street points per minute. And I always use draft street as kind of a baseline because they're the most negative site in terms of punishing you for points, so they can hurt you the most. I agree with Scott that they're going to have to split those minutes somehow because there's no other lineup combination that gets them going. You can't really play Melo at the 5. There's nobody else to play like a stretch 4. So, and Boston can't go small. They just don't have enough guys to go small without Rondo around, and with Avery Bradley hurt, and with Joe Wallace hurt. So I think you're going to see a lot of Tyler and Aldridge. I don't think they're must-plays around the industry, with the exception, Draft Street Aldridge is under 4K. That's pretty tough to pass up on. DraftKings, they're both the minimum. FanDuel, you don't really need to mess around with them. They can be sources of salary relief, but there's a lot of other guys out there that could be as well. The Chris Johnson thing, I was looking up kind of on NBA Wowie the different lineup combinations they've used without Rondo, Avery Bradley, and Gerald Wallace, and like every top combination involves Chris Johnson. So I think it's a good bet that he plays 25 to 28 minutes tonight. So as a punt play, that doesn't really bother me because he comes with that small forward eligibility tag. And then you guys mentioned Bayless. I have no problem with Bayless. It's just that there's so many other good point guard options that he's not really sneaking his way into my lineups. And I'm ignoring Pressey altogether. That's
probably a good strategy, ignoring Pressey altogether. I'm not as high on Bayless tonight. I don't mind it. But Devo Brain did mention a good point, is that Chris Johnson doesn't have to compete with Gerald Wallace's minutes, which in the past, when Rondo has been out, he has.
So the last 3 games Rondo's missed, Johnson has played, I think, 28, 26, and 21 minutes. And the 26 and 21 minutes were both games that Gerald Wallace was active. Mm-hmm. So I think a floor on him is probably 25 minutes. So for a minimum price, he's not a super great player. He averages like 0.5 draft street points per minute or something like that. But for a minimum price, he's in play with small forward eligibility.
Oh man, the
video looks fine for me. I see you frantically looking around, but the video looks fine for me.
Yeah. I think that's Waffles trying to mess with me. Waffles is trying to mess with me. The other night he waited till the last second to get into the Swag Dome. He's just trying to stress me out. That's just Waffles 2003 for you. Oh, so let's move on then from this game, because I do think that a lot of people though are going to be more on Tyler than Aldridge. But you also have to throw in two other center plays, and we always have to talk about this Philly matchup. And tonight it's DeMarcus Cousins and the Kings, and so you're going to have to choose, especially on a site like FanDuel. There's no multi-position eligibility. You're going to have to choose what strategy you're going with, and so you also have Vooch going up against the Nuggets as a premier center option. So there's going to be some different strategies. So it's not like Tyler is going to be 95% owned like I thought he might be at first. I think that with all the other options out there, especially the Cousins angle, it's going to be a little more proportioned, I guess, evenly proportioned. Proportion just doesn't really make sense because you could have many different proportions. Moving on. This Philly game against the Kings, it's not a huge spread. Last time I saw, I think it was around 8. Let's see, where is it at now? 10. Okay. So it's moved up a little bit. Maybe it was at 8.5 earlier. But a 10-point spread, which is not that bad. 76ers at home, going up against a team that has a lot of potential fantasy-wise. You've got IT2, Cousins, Rudy Gay, and then even the scrubs like McLemore and McCollum as potential guys. So, and Reggie Evans even as another guy. I mean, the Kings, you just have a lot of options tonight. Scott, as far as any, is Cousins your lock? Have you come out with your day before tomorrow article yet?
Yeah, I put it up right before the show.
Is Cousins a lock?
Yeah, I have Cousins in there tonight. I mean, he scored something ridiculous in 27 foul trouble minutes the last time against them. His price isn't insanely high. I have a really hard time not taking him tonight. If I'm not going to play him at center, I'm taking Vooch, who's almost as risky just because of his random minutes that make no sense. And then Tyler is really the 3 center options for me. I like Jefferson quite a bit, but he's more of a price play for me. I like him some places more than others. I mean, I'm going to have a ton of Cousins tonight. That's where I'm at with Cousins.
Yeah. I mean, it's if you had to choose between Melo and Cousins, which it looks like it's going to be one of the options. Is that a rapid-fire question, Melo versus Cousins? I bet it is.
Yes, actually it is.
I knew it, because it's a tough one.
Yeah, it is tough. I mean, the reason I'm taking Cousins most of the time right now is because it saves me a little cap room most places. I really like both of them. I'd like to play both a little bit if I could, but it's kind of hard because I don't really trust either of those Knicks big guys. I'm not really high on either of the Kings shooting guards or Reggie Evans. I definitely think you can make teams like that have both, and they could end up being good teams. Those minimum guys, true minimum guys, just aren't guys I trust tonight. I don't like the matchup for Kyle Singler as much tonight as I did last night.
Kyle Singler was money
place
last night. Saved so many teams of mine.
Yeah.
Oh, gosh.
I mean, he was great last night. That's probably his best game of the season, unless I'm forgetting about one that was just totally ridiculous. But, I mean, I don't like his matchup as much tonight. I actually like Terrence Ross against him, or against the Pistons a little bit more for the same price a couple places. I don't really know what the Kings are going to do with McLemore and McCollum at shooting guard. McCollum got absolutely torched by Rodney Stuckey for 5 straight possessions last night, and then he just got the boot in the first half. McLemore rarely does anything in 35 minutes, so...
Yes, we figured that out a couple of Fridays ago.
Yeah, I know. I had a ton of him that night.
So, I would probably agree with you that for me the options are the top three, as far as Cousins, Isaiah Thomas, and Rudy Gay from that game. Drew, you look like you're in deep thought here.
Well, I mean, the McLemore stuff was just giving me flashbacks to the showcase finals where he's in there, and then I woke up this morning and the first lineup I put together on Draft Street, I had like $5K left over for my last spot, and McLemore was just staring at me, and I was like, all right, I'm scrapping this entire lineup because there's no way this guy is taking me out twice. So yeah, F that
guy. You think that McCollum's minutes have been a little bit inflated by blowouts?
Yeah, I mean, he got 30 minutes the game before, and I think everybody got really excited that, he was going to get all these minutes, but they were down by like 30 in the fourth quarter to Brooklyn. And so I think his baseline for minutes is like 22 to 24. They had 2 blowouts in there where he got up to 30, and I think everyone got excited that, it could be more of a pure timeshare. And so I think tonight you can expect 22 to 24. The problem is his price has started to reflect it on a couple different sites, from those blowouts where he played a little bit better. So I don't want to say anybody is off, out of play against Philadelphia. For me, McLemore is, but I'm with you guys. I'm more focused on Cousins, Gay, and Thomas. I also think that line, if that line is a 10, that seems awfully high for me. I know it's the Sixers, but the Sacramento is not any good either, and they're traveling on the road for a second night of a back-to-back. I think this game stays competitive.
What do you think is going on inside of DeMarcus' head?
I can't answer that question because my Twitter handle's now back to Drew Dinkmeyer. If it was at Dan Wahoo, I could speculate on what his mom.
We got it fixed. We got it fixed. Why do you have to point it out? No one even noticed. No one even put it in chat.
If he's been hugged enough,
except for Dan.
If he slept with 2 pillows as opposed to 1 pillow. But
all I know is that on efficiency sites like DraftDay and Draft Street, like both Melo and Cousins are just they're just screaming risk. But
what makes you concerned about Cousins on an efficiency versus a non-efficiency? Because I think of Melo that way all the time. I don't tend to think of Cousins that way.
Really, it's just the specifically Draft Street. It's not like there's a huge difference in price. Like they're around the same price. So that's not really an efficiency versus not efficiency. I'm just saying that on both those sites. Like Scott was saying that he would rather go Melo for the cap room, but on the other efficiency site, they're the same price. So DeMarcus being a lock for 45 Draft Street points is a little scary, as is Carmelo, really, because he could easily go like 5 for 21 tonight. I really hope I didn't jinx him. All right, let's move on to some other games, though. Detroit and Toronto, you've got Amir Johnson, who is in play because Patrick Patterson is still out. Amir, I played him the first game that Pat was out and didn't do anything. Last game, though, he absolutely went off. So he's in play tonight for sure. And then you have Kyle Lowry going up against this terrible Knicks team. So thoughts on really the Raptors, because I don't think I have any current Pistons anywhere right now. Scott?
Yeah, I like Lowry a lot. I like DeRozan a lot. Amir, like you said, is a pretty solid player right now with Patrick Patterson out. Terrence Ross is a pretty good value play. I wouldn't take Valanciunas. Yeah, I mean, I like the 1 through 4 starters for the Raptors, all of them. The price on Lowry and DeRozan isn't really prohibitive on any site. DeRozan's actually down on most sites because of the last 2 slower games he's had. I think he's got a great matchup with Singler tonight. Lowry's just... If he's making shots like he was in his last game, I mean, he's one of the 10 best fantasy point guards in the league, and this is just a fabulous matchup for him. So I really like him tonight. I'm going to try and find a way to work him into some lineups. I didn't have him earlier, but he's kind of growing on me.
That's cute. By the way, avoid Brandon Jennings tonight. Just don't even think about it. Don't even think about playing him. Drew, like Scott mentioned, no Valanciunas, and I agree. But his ceiling has been limited even without Pat. I mean, he's going to get you 20 fantasy points, and that's about it. So he's out of play for me. Amir, though, for you, or Psycho T as a backup. Like, I mean, your thoughts on either of these guys?
Yeah, I'm big on Amir tonight. He's been one of my favorite guys, just in season-long fantasy for years because he fills up steals and blocks. He's not priced for mid-30s minutes. He's priced for high 20s minutes around the industry, and he played 36 last game. I think he played 32 the game before that. So you've got a good chance at mid-30s, high 30s minutes. Detroit, they play big all the time. There's always two bigs out there, so it's really hard to go really small against them. So I think Amir's going to play a ton, and the Raptors don't really go that small. Usually maybe they'll throw in Novak in some offensive sets, but so I think he's pretty solid. Good price point, good matchup. Detroit's kind of weak inside with guys who move without the ball, and Amir can do that, and they tend to use him as kind of a primary pick and roller as well. So I think it's a good spot for him. I agree with Scott. I like Lowry a lot. I like DeRozan as well. I keep going back and forth because I don't want to play three Raptors in lineup, so I'm kind of choosing between which two I'd like to play. I think that game, in my opinion, has just as much blowout risk as Sacramento-Philadelphia.
Because of how good Detroit is?
Yeah, Detroit's not very good. They're on the second night of a back-to-back, and Toronto's at home, where they're really good. So
yeah, I've never been, and I've admitted this, I've never been a huge DeMar fan. The other two certainly in play for me. DeMar just he scares me. So at the shooting guard spot, though, I don't think it's a bad spot. Like I haven't seen his price where it would scare me tremendously. I just have a habit of not playing him. Just a personal thing.
My favorite lineup right now for Draft Street has him in and not Lowry, and it's killing me.
Yeah, bump
because
that.
I'd really rather play Lowry, but I can't figure out the other pieces that.
Let me give you one of these around. Davis. Nah.
Yeah.
That smelled something funky. Look, people do want to know about Stuckey. For those that might not know, pretty much, well, everyone doesn't know. Drew, you messaged me last night and you said, I'm really torn between KD and Stuckey, or Lance Stevenson, and who was the other guy? Monroe, yes. And you chose...
Your first G-Chat message to me when I got home was, sit down for this. That Durant-Stuckey decision was a 60-point swing.
You still were okay. At that point, you were a little bit, you didn't know what was going on and if you were going to make it or if you weren't, because there's so many scenarios, but you were okay. Stuckey tonight, yay or nay? I feel like last night your Stuckey call was a little bit game-specific.
For me, it was. The matchup was good, and I thought Drummond would get in foul trouble against Cousins quickly, so I kind of thought there would be more minutes open for the Stuckey-Singler combo. They're both so cheap that on sites where you're like FanDuel, where you're forced to take two shooting guards and two small forwards, they don't bother me, but they aren't guys I'd really go after. And then around the rest of the industry, there's enough price discounts you don't really need to mess around there. So I'm with you. I'm not on a lot of Pistons tonight. Those are the two, just because they're so cheap, and because FanDuel makes you take two shooting guards, two small forwards. That I could see them being in play.
Yeah, agree. It is 4:03 Eastern Time, and you're watching the Daily Fantasy NBA show, sponsored by DraftDay. DraftDay, again, has the big mega qualifier going on tonight, $33, and they're giving away some spots to that 100K Hardwood Classic that starts on Friday. The format is 200 spots, Scott? Scott? Scott, can you hear me? We lost Scott. We've lost him.
Yeah, can you hear me?
There he is. He's alive. Okay,
Yeah,
good.
It's 200 spots. It's a survivor down to 64 and then a bracket.
Yeah, okay. So that bracket starts on Saturday, right?
That's right.
Woo, man, it's getting tourney time, and I am so turned on DFS style right now. So that's good stuff. Make sure you go over there and not just play the rapid fire and dominate like Dan and I did last night. Sorry, Davis. But also get into that mega qualifier. All right, so moving on to the next games. Again, if you have any questions for us, feel free to ask them in the chat or on Twitter. We'll get to them. I had a couple questions on Twitter come my way. Actually, this is more of a comment. I left something in the toilet last night that looked better than Lance Stephenson's performance. That from @DoubleNeat. Thanks for sharing. And then Bayless, Gay, and Mello, or Lowry, Green, and Thad. I'm guessing Green would be Jeff Green, and I'd probably have to go with the safer of those and go with the Thad group. I don't mind Thaddeus Young tonight. We didn't talk about him in that game, but I think he's a decent play for tonight's game. Scott, are you in agreement on that as well?
Yeah, I agree on that.
Okay, good. Again, if you have any questions for him, we'll make sure to get to them. Going back to that game, @DoubleNeat wants to know if you think Roten is worth a look.
I don't mind the idea of the play. I just don't think it's necessary. So for me, whenever I think there's a play that could be okay, but it's not necessary, I kind of classify that as more of a tournament play. But there's so much value out there that I don't think that's a necessary play.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think it would fall under the category of unnecessary risk, basically. All right, Scott, you mentioned Al Jefferson, another guy you love, in addition to DeMarcus Cousins. And when I read it, I was shocked. I had water in my mouth and I spit it out because of your love for Al Jefferson. I'm glad to see you finally do a 180 because you've never really liked him before.
Yeah, I mean, my idea behind that is the Wizards are playing small a lot right now, and when the Bobcats actually get all their shooters on the floor with Douglas Roberts and Gary Neal, and I'm assuming Henderson plays again tonight, and Anthony Tolliver, Jefferson's just played really well out of that set, and I think you're going to see a lot of that tonight with 3 or 4 shooters on the floor all the time. And I mean, Gortat's not really a guy that I worry about a ton as a defender, and they really don't have anything behind him is the other thing. So if he does get in foul trouble, if he's not playing well, I mean, they have no one else that they can put out there on him. I mean, Drew Gooden is probably their second best big man right now, and as much as I like Drew Gooden, I can't say that that's a plus for them offensively or defensively.
No. That's interesting that Al Jefferson is that high for you. His price has gone up tremendously, though. You're willing to pay for him.
He's a decent discount from Melo is the reason that I like him.
Okay. All right, I'm not gonna argue too much with you there. I do like though that on draft day you can play Melo in that small forward spot. That is nice. Same with Thad Young. Melo and Thad at the small forward spots for all the money. Okay, so as far as this Charlotte game, Drew, do you have anything else to add versus Washington? I mean, I'll be honest, I don't have a ton of exposure to this game.
Yeah, neither do I. Charlotte has been pretty good defensively throughout the year, and they tend to be, some of the guys I pick on, like Kemba and stuff, tends to be better at home usually. So there's not a lot of opportunity that I'm seeing in this game personally. Gerald Henderson's going to come back, so that eliminates the Chris Douglas Roberts bad. And then on the Washington side, the one, if you want to kind of get into a punt play mode at small forward, I think Scott mentioned this in his day before tomorrow, Martell Webster they like to play small. They'd much rather play small with Booker or Seraphin out of the game than play big. And so, Webster's got 25 or more minutes in the last 4 games he's played. He did sit out 2 games, and he shoots. He shoots the ball from the corners, and he shoots the ball pretty well from the corners. So he's a guy that, for a minimum price, doesn't bother me.
Yeah. I guess it's a punt play. He's not bad, especially it's site specific, I would say. Mm-hmm. As most stuff we talk about is. So next game, this Denver-Orlando game. You've got a fairly high over-under. You've got a 1.5 point game. You've got Vooch against the Nuggets. You've got Fareed on the road. Last road game, I think, though, he did have a fairly nice game. And then you have Jameer also is pretty, his price is way down. Do you trust Jameer tonight, Scott, against Denver?
Trust him to get enough points that he can make value on some of these prices. Yeah, I kind of do. With all their players, his upside has seemed pretty capped this year. And I know they've gotten rid of Glenn Davis and stuff like that, but it really hasn't freed up a ton of minutes. They're still using Etuan Moore. They're still, for some reason, playing Deron Lamb 6 to 10 minutes off the bench every game. I just don't want to target Jameer Nelson even in a good matchup when there's a decent chance he plays 28 minutes.
Yeah, it's a good point. But, it is the Nuggets. And
and he's priced really well everywhere. There's nowhere that you look at him and you're like, wow, I can't play him. But there's also not a lot of places I look at him and I'm like, oh, I really want to play him either. He's kind of in that middle ground for me where he's priced pretty appropriately everywhere.
William wants to know about CDR to hit value. Again, unnecessary risk tonight. Just don't think.
Yeah, he's asking, if Washington plays small, could Charlotte play small as well? The problem is when Charlotte plays small, sometimes, as Scott mentioned, it's Tolliver. So it would be CDR competing for minutes with Tolliver, and you don't know how that's going to shake out. So why risk it?
And you never know. Gary Neal could make 100 shots in a row.
Yeah.
People want to know about the revenge factor for Afflalo tonight.
He's on that same problem with Jameer Nelson. He's a little more expensive. He's a little safer, but they're crowded.
All right, and then I agree that it would just be playing it very safe. With both those two, not you're just what they're pretty much what they're going to get. Oladipo is. Do we have a status on him yet?
It sounds like he's going to play again, but I think he played last game and only played 18 or 20 minutes.
Yeah, so I was wondering if he would sit out tonight.
That's the other thing. Orlando's doing some weird stuff with rotations, and at this point in the
year,
O'Quinn. Yeah, starting O'Quinn and Vooch together, but then not playing a center with the second unit. Vooch didn't even come in for a second rotation in the first half last game. So sometimes at this point in the year, these teams that aren't very good, they do suboptimal things to try to improve their lottery position. And so if for me, if there's a tiebreaker, if there's 2 guys that I'm choosing between, I'm going to pick away from teams that are doing weird things. And Orlando, the last game, that kind of freaked me out when they started O'Quinn with Vooch in a matchup they didn't need to go really big, and then they didn't bring Vooch back in that second rotation in the second quarter. So I'm a little bit more hands off on the Orlando situation for cash game lineups right now than I typically would be, just because that spooked me.
Yeah, that creates a lot of weird things when they're bringing the 2 guys that they're really trying to develop off the bench, because you can't count on that second row. There's going to be 2 guys in that starting lineup that don't get their second rotation. I guess Tobias Harris and Oladipo are probably going to be out there if they're healthy.
Yeah, and Tobias, did he get in foul? I didn't watch the game on Monday. Did he get in foul trouble?
I don't think so. They were just doing really weird things.
Okay. So basically,
They played like 10 guys, like more than 15 minutes or something like that.
Yeah.
Kyle says that he has a DFS, and I can't even say the word because it's naughty, for Tobias today. So Tobias would be probably the one guy, if I'm playing on draft day tonight, that I would roll, especially, again, talking about that small forward spot. So if you're fading Melo or you want to play Melo in the power forward, you could go Melo or Tobias and Thad Young and feel good about it. Partner that with some DeMar at the shooting guard spot. Sexy.
So, yeah, 10 guys at least 13 minutes in that last game.
Yeah,
that's not fun for fantasy purposes.
Nah. So the Brooklyn-Miami game tonight. You've got Garnett, who's going to be out. You've got, really, for me, I'm not paying up for LeBron tonight. And on the other side, you have Blatch, and really, Blatch may be the only guy I'm looking at playing. You also have people might be wanting to give another look to Marcus Thornton, but I think that ship has sailed with Paul Pierce back. I mean, after last game, I don't see how you could feel comfortable with those guys. But thoughts on Blatch, really, it would be my main question for tonight, Scott.
I like Blatch. I wrote him up a little bit today. I mean, they've been getting dominated by big guys. I think Gortat had like 18 and 14 the other night. Noah had a huge game. Blatch has played, I believe, 26 or more minutes in 3 or 4 straight games. He's probably more of a tournament play. It just seems like he's a little riskier than you need him to be. He's another guy that's priced like right around that same, like, not totally mid-priced, but like a little above that, where it's hard to play him when there's question marks like, is he going to play 17 minutes for no real reason, and is he going to be in foul trouble and stuff like that. He's just a tough guy to play, but the upside's definitely there. I love him as a tournament play tonight.
Salary probably the sexiest on draft day. 7.750 is his salary. So, yeah, I like his salary there. Another guy in that same range at that power forward spot is Marcus Morris. So let's take a little bit of time to talk about this Phoenix and Cleveland situation where you have Dragic and you've got Marcus Morris at the 3, but you have Bledsoe coming back. So, I mean, theoretically, they could go small and have Gerald Green slide to that 3 spot. You've got Markieff, who is an option. I don't know, like right now, even though there might be some good plays on this Phoenix team, it seems like the majority of my teams that I'm making don't have any Suns exposure. I've got some SPF DFS 50 on. You know what I'm saying? Scott, you know what I'm saying?
DFS?
It's like sunscreen for daily fantasy purposes. Oh gosh, this Suns game, really, Marcus Morris is probably the guy that sticks out the most. How many minutes does he get tonight, Scott?
I'm conservatively putting him somewhere between like 28 and 32. He's been approaching that lately, even with Tucker in the lineup. Obviously, Bledsoe comes back tonight and probably soaks up like 60 to 70% of Tucker's minutes. Morris has been playing a lot of shooting or small forward, but also some power forward. A lot of it's going to depend on how well he starts. If he's hot starting, he's probably going to play extended minutes. If he's really cold shooting it, starting out, I mean, he could dip into the low 20s if they just slide Green over to small forward and stick with their standard big guy rotation. So I think he's far from a safe thing, but he's also priced. That risk is easily priced into his price almost everywhere.
For sure. Yay or nay on Marcus Morris tonight, Drew?
Yay.
Ooh, boy. You took off the SPF and put on your banana boat oil. You're all lathered up.
I don't know how to respond to that, but yes. Yeah, I think think Marcus is in play. I mean, he's pretty cheap on a couple different sites that I've checked. I would much rather prefer small forward eligibility than power forward. That's the one knock that's a little bit frustrating. But yeah, I don't mind at all. I put the range a little bit higher just because of the starting role. I think instead of 28 to 30 or 28 to 32, I'd probably push it 30 to 34, just a few extra minutes. But yeah, I like him and I like Dragic. I don't think Bledsoe is going to play more than 15 minutes. I think they're going to ease him back in. I think the reserve role is the big hint there that that's their plan. So I don't think you have to worry about Bledsoe just yet. And I think Dragic's going to be just fine. I think his usage rate will still be high. Most of his time will be without Bledsoe on the court. So I think he's still going to be fine.
Yeah, I'm expecting Bledsoe to just take Ish Smith's role, basically.
Yep.
Yeah. If you're asking me Morse 7K or like Ish Smith at 5.4, I'm going Morse all day on draft day. Okay, Golden State at LA tonight. Golden State coming off a blowout win last night. Looked pretty good. You also have someone in chat, and I forgot their name. I think it's FSS Sports or SF Sports. But mentioned that Bogut averaging 33 fantasy points versus the Clippers. Bogut did look good last night. Looked a lot better than David Lee, that's for sure. So, thoughts on this matchup tonight? Obviously, the price ranges are really high. You've got Chris Paul, who's dealing with a sore groin, so no CP3 for me tonight. You have no Jamal Crawford, meaning that with those two situations, Darren Collison is in play. The problem is his price has gone up with his past performance. So that's going to be it's just kind of a risky situation. Matt Barnes came back down to earth on Monday, so for where his price tag has risen, I would not take him. So really, I guess the questions are Bogut and then the big men for both these teams, because I'm not targeting any really guards for the team. Scott, let's talk about some big men.
Yeah, I noticed that same Bogut stat, and I also noticed that he looked really good last night. They really need him out there when they're facing the Clippers because DeAndre Jordan's so big. He's one of the few guys in the league that can almost match his body size. David Lee, I played in that lineup that did awful last night. I hit like every landmine with that lineup and avoided every other one in the other lineup. But yeah, David Lee didn't look great last night. I was really high on David Lee because his usage rate was really high the game before with Curry on that minutes limit. So I think you can go back to David Lee. He's priced pretty well. David Lee versus Blake Griffin is the matchup you probably want to target in this one. Both guys are not that great on defense. Blake's really high price. I'd rather have Melo, Cousins, Al Jeff over him, so I probably won't have much Blake. And, I mean, after David Lee did what he did last night, I don't feel like really great about him, even though he's priced pretty well everywhere. So I think he's definitely worth a look just to see what his price is on whatever site you're on.
Yeah, I messaged Tuttle last night after the lineups for the Draft Straight Basketball Championship locked, and I said, oh man, I found the perfect combination. I should have played it. I'm so dumb. The combination was my team except Brandon Jennings and David Lee for Rubio and Josh Smith. So I'm glad that I didn't do that. I'd have been my demeanor today would be very different if that was the case, for sure. Drew, thoughts on this, on the big men situation?
Yeah, so
in LA.
Yeah, the Golden State thing has been strange because they're really getting Jermaine O'Neal a lot of time, and so if you've noticed, David Lee had that one game against the Hawks where he played a lot. I think it was against the Hawks. He played like 37 minutes, but before that, it was like 25 minutes every single game, and some of those were blowouts, but some weren't. And so I've been kind of touting Lee as more of a tournament play than a cash game play, just because I don't know what they're doing with that big man rotation. Now, this is a game though that they have to play two bigs pretty much all the time because DeAndre and Blake are almost always on the floor. So I think the minutes risk in this game is significantly less for Bogut and Lee, and that's been my main frustration with trying to forecast them lately. So I think they're both in play. They aren't finding their way into my lineups, and I prefer Bogut more than Lee because he's cheaper. I think I like Bogut more than Vucevic tonight based on price. I do too, to be honest, which is might be contrarian. On the other side, the CP3 thing, I like him a lot, and I've been trying to research the groin injury all day to figure out how severe it is, and all I can find is that it was sore after the game, but then there was no issue yesterday on Tuesday. So in the spots that I was considering CP3, I'm still considering him. I don't know if I'll wuss out on that when lineup locks come, but I'm still considering him. He's averaged I think it was 18 and 13 against Golden State or something like that this year in their previous 2 or 3 games. And all those injuries, no Crawford, makes it so that he has to be on the floor a decent bit. So, and then I like Blake a lot. I like Blake more than Melo, personally.
What?
Yeah.
It's a great match.
But I mean, that shouldn't surprise you. You know me and Melo, it's just the way it goes.
Are you mad?
The other good thing on the Clippers is even with Collison's increased price, that's probably where they're hiding Steph Curry tonight.
Yeah.
Yeah. So to me, Collison is still in play on sites that he's hovering around 10%.
Yep, same.
Chris Paul, man. Drew, I've had a couple of sore groins in my day, and let me tell you, not fun. For basketball purposes or, other sports.
Yeah, I'm struggling with it, but
you're struggling with a sore groin?
Here's the thing. I'm not struggling with my groin. My groin is perfectly fine.
Oh, good. Because we all wanted to know.
I knew you were interested. I saw the look on your face. But so Chris Paul is a guy that I use a lot, just in general, and I think he's a little bit underpriced around the industry. So I would like to be able to use him in the spot. The other thing is I've gotten burned on this 4 or 5 times this year where I've freaked out about some minor injury issue, and then the guy has gone out on the court and gone nuts. Whether it was that Kevin Love ankle thing that got me off him the whole night, and then he went bonkers. So I'm trying to take all the information I've had from my experiences this year and figure it out. But the information that I'm reading on CP3 so far says he felt nothing on Tuesday. He felt fine on Tuesday. So
interesting.
Yeah.
So as far as CP3 goes, I would say that you are a grower and not a shower. Moving on, though, let's take some questions because, Drew, you really have me uncomfortable talking about your groin. If you have any questions, feel free to ask them in the chat, and we will try to do our best to answer them in a non-sexual way. Also, tonight, some other good plays on our sponsor, DraftDay. And Scott, I know you'll have to go in a few minutes, but Drew and I will cover it. Don't you worry. This Amir Johnson at under 10K on DraftDay is very nice. Hold on.
Why do you even need the sound effect?
Yeah, I know. I was thinking, why am I even doing that?
My name is Bob. I like you. I like sex. It's nice.
Oh, good. And we talked about Tobias and Thad Young, DeMar DeRozan. So we'll get into some lightning round with questions. I'll start first. Yay or nay? Derek Favors, Scott.
Nay.
All right. Hump versus New York, Drew.
It's 4 big guys in Boston. I have no idea who is going to be great on any given night. Someone will be good. It's the same thing I say. And until someone gets hurt from that group, I'm off it. Outside of tournaments, Hump is the best bet of the group, but someone always fails on that group miserably. and I don't want it caught in my roster tonight.
Good point. I'll also take this time to mention that the lightning round is a maximum of three-word reasoning.
Longest lightning round answer ever.
For your answers. So please
Don't
keep
get
that
me
in mind.
complex situations.
Please keep that in mind, host. Oh gosh. Waiters? Question mark. He's fairly cheap. The answer, no, not for me. Conley or Lillard? Drew. No, Conley or Lillard? Scott.
Lillard.
Favorite value plays that are not size queens? I mean, big mean? I don't even know. I don't know what that means. What does that even? Big. Oh, then he corrected. Big men. Favorite value plays that are not big men, aka size queens. Drew.
Site specific.
Good point. It is site specific. Amir or Markeef? Scott.
Amir.
Not even close. Markeef or Dang? Drew.
Markeef.
Dang. It's Markeef, I would agree. Let's see. Talk about Dirk versus Utah, because obviously we need more tempting power forward center options tonight. We'll do that in we'll do that now because that's the end of the questions. Dirk versus Utah. Scott, you're the Dirk fan. So are you comfortable with his price tag against Utah tonight on a back-to-back?
Yeah. It depends on the price tag, but I think I've seen like 72 or 74 on FanDuel, which I think is a decent price tag. The biggest problem with him is, like, I think the person who asked the question mentioned, is that there's a ton of power forward options tonight. Dirk is more of a tournament play for me tonight just because I think you can get better value by either going up or down on almost every site. I think he has upside tonight. I really like the matchup with Marvin Williams. He's just not a guy that's going to be on any cash teams for me.
Fair enough. Before you go, Scott, pick a number 1 through 20 for your Swag Dome prize, and we'll let you know later what it is.
11.
Okay. You shouldn't have done that. Okay.
MVP t-shirt.
We'll let you know later what that number 11 is. You'll really like it. Thanks for joining us, Scott. Again, tonight on Draft Day, you can enter the Mega Qualifier. $33. Only about, I think, 25 or 30 spots last time I saw.
32 left.
32 left.
There's also a $3.30 qualifier that's been like 40% overlay for the last 5 days. So that's worth throwing a couple lineups into.
Yeah, I think there's...
When is a direct buy-in available?
I think we're going to post it today. I need to finish up some salaries after the show, but probably around 6 o'clock tonight, I would guess. If you really want to buy in, I can link you to it right now. I just won't have any players in it yet.
Yeah, if you could.
Okay.
All right. Well, thanks for the private conversation on the show. We'll let you get on to what you were doing, Scott. But as always, I don't know what I always say.
As always.
Thank you, Scott, for joining us.
Thanks. Have a good one, guys.
Oh, man. That guy is a jerk. So, let's get on to the rapid fire, if we will, and see if we can come up with another. Both me and Dan went 4 out of 5 with different picks. So, we'll see. Yeah, Mr. Tuttle says, first and forehand, thanks for joining us. Yes. Carmelo versus Cousins. I knew this just when I was talking about it would be something that Scott would try to tease us with.
Cousins for me.
Ooh, it's Melo for me. And that is scary. I know, it's scary. It's scary, but, I mean, Carmelo's going to be playing so much. I'm really high on Melo. DeMar versus Rudy Gay.
Rudy Gay. I don't feel that's a really tough one for me.
Yeah, I'll go with Gay. Thad Young versus Fareed.
Thad, not close for me.
Yep. Bayless versus Foy.
Bayless.
Yeah, not much talk about Randy Foy, but I think that's for good reason. Give me Bayless with Rondo out.
I think Foy's really cheap in a few places that I don't mind, like Star Street and DraftKings. I don't mind him on those sites, but just in general, I agree that there's a lot of other guys that take before him.
And Scott always leaves us with a gross matchup at the very end. Tristan Thompson versus Marcus Morris.
Oh, that's really annoying.
Yeah.
Let me quickly look up my spreadsheet.
I'll go just off the cuff and say Tristan tonight with Bledsoe coming back and Green possibly sliding that small forward position. I guess I'll go Tristan.
I'll go Marcus Morris after looking it up.
Cheater. All right, final round of questions. Again, make sure you get over there to DraftDay and play their little game that they have. Final round of questions. Chris Johnson on FanDuel for the minimum.
Yeah, doesn't bother me.
Yeah, I think so. Especially where we talked about at the beginning of the show without Gerald Wallace being the missing factor when Rondo was out the previous games. Melo and Marcus Morris versus Blake or Hump.
I mean, I think Marcus Morris is so much safer than Hump that I'll choose Melo and Marcus Morris, but I do like Blake more than Melo tonight, personally.
Blake had a huge first half and then was just a giant tease on Monday. But yeah, I would agree with that. Ish or Chris Johnson? It's Chris Johnson, not close for me. So we'll see. If Terabad is in the chat, Terabad, I need you to type a number in the chat for your Swag Dome prize. Harkless or James Anderson? I think I'll go with Anderson.
Yeah, I think I'd go Anderson too. That's a really good one, though. I think both those guys are in play on a site like FanDuel where you have to play two guys at each of those positions.
All right, Terabad. Let's see. That's right.
Look at those graphics.
Isn't it sexy? Isn't that
Very
really sexy? It's so sexy. So Terabad chooses lucky number 8. And that is a tailgate. Or no, that's not the tailgate medal. It is the 100K mega crossover ticket.
Nice.
For this. The $27 ticket for this Friday's game. So, very nice. And then.
Turn that into $1,000.
What's that?
Could turn that into $1,000.
Yeah, I think it's like the top 100 get $1,000. So Kyle says boring. And then number 11 is a Milwaukee Bucks vintage Oscar Robertson T-shirt.
Oh, Mike's going to be so upset.
I know he's going to be mad. He's going to be really mad. But very nice. Scott wins the vintage T-shirt. We'll go ahead and pull it up on screen. There you go. That's what Mr. Scott Melwig, a.k.a. at sports_25 to life won. Good stuff. Drew, we got some lineups to make, my man, for tonight.
Yeah.
So let's do it.
Yeah, and as Mike said to me on GChat earlier today, I think it would be fun to have a sweat show where we're all secretly rooting for just ourselves and against each of the others, but like jokingly supporting each other. And I responded to Mike, I said, that's every GChat session that we will have for the next 3 days. Because last night he's like, I just need 6 more points from Dirk. And I'm sitting there like, well, 6 more points from Dirk passes me, so screw you.
Yeah, I told him, I said, I really am cheering for you just after I am pretty sure that I'm going to make it. So, yeah. And for those of you that might not know, Drew is, he writes with, I can't get the picture right, so we'll just go with this. He writes with Mike for the Daily Fantasy Rundown there on rotoexperts.com. and they're running a discounted special. And also, people have been asking us all about baseball stuff, and you guys will have baseball content.
Yeah, we'll have baseball content. Same stuff we've done before, just a different host site.
Yeah.
But we'll be unleashing that within the next 2 weeks, I think, 2 or 3 weeks. It'll be before baseball season, but we will have content. It'll be same type of deal where we'll have written analysis, a big column breaking down each position and the values and top plays of each position, and then we'll have site-specific cheat sheets as well.
Well, that will be fun. And for those of you who do not know, Mike is the tournament champ when it comes to daily fantasy baseball. So Drew is like the other guy in that relationship.
That's right. I'm like the other guy all the time, but for some reason people always credit me, and Mike's the guy who does all the work.
Yeah. So he's never mind. Like we said, we do like to be on the bottom. So that will do it for today's show. Again, thanks for everybody for tuning in. Less groin talk on Friday, hopefully, and more daily fantasy analysis with, good Lord willing, Mike Leone will be on the show this week. He has taken like an extended vacation, so hopefully he will be on the show, and we'll have all three of us playing in that championship.
I should also mention, sorry Dave, we'll have a free trial the first week of the season for baseball as well.
Good. Are you done?
Yeah, I'm done.
Okay.
I need to get that promo in.
All right. Tune in Friday. We'll have a much better ending to the show. I promise. Later.
My name is Borat. I like you. I like sex. It's nice.